Hey everyone, welcome back to Play Casket with another episode of Your Turn. And the last couple of weeks it's been busy for us.
Yeah.
We've gotten gross and sick, and then we recovered. The other one got gross and sick, and then the background radiation of other responsibilities kind of came up. It was a long time. In fact, it was almost interesting because it was almost like last week was the only time that anything eventful happened in video games. So it made our lives easier. Thank you, video games, for being boring for the last couple of weeks. So, let's go ahead and just hop into it. The one big, giant, multicolored, gun-toting elephant in the room, Palworld. So, basically, Palworld has gotten a lot of numbers, has a lot of sales, and it's become this huge internet phenomenon. Because honestly, I don't see it anywhere else. Yeah. Obviously.
So, on their official English Twitter saying 19 million total, 7 million from Xbox, and then 12 million on Steam. So
yeah, and
pretty impressive numbers.
I don't know, dude. I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm not trying to hate on Palworld as it is. For the record, I don't care. Fundamentally, I don't care if it's successful. I really don't. Fortnite's successful, I don't care about Fortnite. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's hot to shit on Fortnite either. I don't, it's not one of those, oh, I'm anti this. I don't play Fortnite, I don't care about it and all that. I have the same policies kind of with Palworld. It just doesn't look like a game I would play very often unless I want to dork around, but I already have other options that I'm already invested in to dork around in, similar to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't need another one. You know what I mean?
I played it with multiplayer. It's fun. I like it. It doesn't play it's not really a Pokemon game, but it's not really an Arc game either.
Yeah, that's the majority of how people. Well, you got to think, consumers are stupid.
Yeah.
They will make the most broadest way to connect the two and call it a day.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, and I think there's a lot of pretentiousness out there as well, where people are aren't we supposed to be happy that independent studios are doing something that really challenges the norm? First off, there's no real norm for it. It's so weird that you put these pretexts that don't make sense.
Yeah.
But all that aside, the numbers just simply don't make sense. It's been out for about 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And the last response they've done was at the end of January. And so in the 2 weeks it's been out, it got 20 million players.
Yeah.
20 million copies sold supposedly. Keyword supposedly. That doesn't add up. You're telling me that this game is more successful than Elden Ring and Spider-Man combined? In their first 2 weeks? Are you saying that it's better than Mario?
Well, one thing I will have to say is
it doesn't make sense.
Well, I'll give them that does something that the other guys don't do. That's kind of how it's risen in such popularity, because it's opposite of what Pokemon is, I guess, and it's opposite of what Digimon is. So that I can see as to why it grew in such popularity, because it's hey, this is the first time we had spicy salsa, and oh my god, everybody loves spicy salsa now, because it's we never thought of doing it that way.
Well, one thing I'm not saying this it justifies it. Basically, what people are saying, oh well, because it has all these reasons, and it's this. You're telling me that every other brand new IP that has done something different that other people wanted to have done did it so poorly that it just sucked in comparison to Palworld?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's literally what I'm saying. These numbers don't add up. The only theory I've ever crafted from this that would reasonably make the numbers make sense. Now, I'm not saying, oh, they should only have 500K, it only makes sense. No, I don't think 20 million in 2 weeks makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to 20 million, You're literally saying that of all the brand new IPs made from Nintendo, a company with a huge pedigree, all of them, from the Wii U generation to the Switch generation, the entire catalog of all new IPs, all of them, their lifetime sales don't equal 20 million. Are you telling me that this company's better at making new games than Nintendo? You know what I mean?
But Nintendo's had that much pedigree and that many years to make games, and look at Scarlet and Violet and how bad it is.
That's more on Pokemon. And what's funny is people keep saying, "Oh, well, look at Pokemon." I'm like, you're literally saying because Scarlet and Violet sucks, all Nintendo's games suck, and therefore Nintendo sucks. You know, like it's disingenuous. Just like the numbers I'm saying, like 20 million. You know, like I could see it being popular. Like I could reasonably be seeing it being popular. You know, and I believe several million. In fact, I believe the negative impact with a lot of people like pushing back at each other probably generated more sales for it as well.
Yeah.
Simpler, like just like simply
sure.
like the Harry Potter game.
Yeah.
Right. But 20 million in 2 weeks. It doesn't pass the sniff test as far as like just looking at it on the surface level. The only way I can see this like on a reasonable like trying to assume that there is not anything facetious or what was another good word for it? Sketchy. Just sketchy overall without any like underlying possibilities like player bloat, because there's been several companies who got caught bloating player base numbers and stuff too, or reporting or cooking the books and stuff. Like people are like, well, a company can't do that. Dude, Disney's been cooking the books about the attendance numbers for Disneyland and Disney World for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So let's be real here. It's not out of the realm of reason. But assuming it is genuine, right? The only theory I could think of is, since we don't have too much information on what has happened to video games in China since China's new laws went into place, they might be the only ones really starved for a new game.
Okay.
And fundamentally, this game does not have gacha. It does not have any random things. Doesn't have daily logins. Doesn't have any of that, right? So it gets under the skin. It gets under all the wires for China to be in the Chinese market, and it is in the Chinese market. That much we know, right? So I'm thinking that there is a possibility that there was a huge gaming exodus that we have not been able to get a report on, and in that time frame, a lot of the Chinese gaming market has been starved for a new game, and they're very well known for just playing a shit ton of knockoffs. And lo and behold, the biggest Pokemon knockoff comes rolling in, and they just ate it up. Like, thinking genuinely, like as far as numbers would go, that's the only numbers I can see happening. That would make it that ignores the possibility of anything underhanded. Like, that's the only way I could see that happening. But we don't have those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, outside that, the numbers just don't pass the sniff test. You're literally, like, even if we're playing, like just ignoring Nintendo in this, because obviously there's going to be a lot more about it that I would like to touch base on. I would just circle Nintendo and Pokemon again. You're telling me this company is better at making games than Elden Ring, Spider-Man, and what was the other one? We literally just mentioned it too before you hit the record button. But these major top releases that last year combined.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like not lifetime sales. We're talking about like those first 2 weeks sales.
Yeah.
Like Elden Ring didn't hit 9 million until a month later. You know, like those are wild successes for those companies. Like let's not completely dismiss the information of that. But you're literally saying that all they had to do is make a game that almost kind of borderlines maybe plagiarizing Pokemon designs and then give them guns. Like, is that all you had to do?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I just don't understand the hate boner for it. Like, a lot of people were like fervently mad that how successful it is.
Well, I've noticed the people who are fervently mad about how successful it is with the people who are fervently like hateful on Pokemon using how successful it is. Like, there's no in between. There's no I'm just kind of glad this game's just successful, blah blah, unless you're trying to be a pretentious douche nozzle. Like, everyone who doesn't care about these two sides are just playing the game. That's it. Yeah. But the only reason any of these people these two sides are even going at each other is because of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I think that's the dumbest thing for Palworld. And I think because of the designs, they were obviously like, there's there is not a single doubt anyone knows that those designs are heavily inspired, if not straight up plagiarized in some forms, Pokemon game. You know?
Yeah.
Because there's a reason people are like, no, it's unique, but why are you always comparing it to Pokemon? You know what I mean?
It's been in works for, I'd say 4 years, 3 years.
Which makes these designs even worse.
Well, C&D would have knocked them out already. That's kind of why. Like, cease and desist would have been, like, stomped already. So,
not necessarily.
well, because they came out and said, like, Pokemon basically said, like, yes, we know, like, don't plagiarize our shit. And that was more along the lines of, like, when I guess somebody stole Pokemon assets and threw it into Palworld, that mod got struck down really quick, and then Pokemon basically said, yeah, we know, shut up, like, yeah, it's its own game.
No, so what was said on the Pokemon stuff, because I heard about that too, is that they're watching it. They're aware that it exists. They know that some of those designs are like borderline plagiarism. But it's on the other side of the fence that they can't legally go after them. Mm-hmm. And well, because of that, like, obviously, like, they can get away with it, yeah. Right? And I'm not saying, oh, you know, the thing is going on. The thing is, with the way the game has what 4 years of development, and you couldn't use any of your unique designs as the front men to advertise your game. You know what I mean? You see where I'm going with that? No?
What do you mean?
So, a lot of this, like, we can all agree that a lot of the designs are heavily inspired, if not, like, copy pasted and then changed a little bit, like a Sonic OC. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, let's be real, a lot of those designs. There's some unique ones. Let's be real. There's some unique ones. I'm not gonna just trash talk Palworld. I'm trying to be very critical on this one. But literally, like, the reason why a lot of people have looked at it is, like, they're looking at it as a Pokemon knockoff. Hell, a lot of the memes are tied to Pokemon, right? Mm-hmm. Like, even they're saying, look at all the, like, even the pro Pokemon fan base is like, Digimon tried to kill us and we survived. This one tried to kill us and they survived. Temtem tried to kill us and they survived. And then, pardon me, they bring up Palworld. It's like, are they going to try to do it now? And there's always like, oh, it finally took guns to finally defeat Pokemon at their own game or something like that. Like, there's always these odd things that people make talk about, because there's a reason why everyone makes the association with Pokemon, because the designs are damn near identical. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they're straight up, like, there's ones where you can say, with quotations, plagiarized, but a lot of them are straight up, like, copy pasted inspirations. Like, we've seen people do that type of designs for philosophies before too. And with the 4 years of development, you wouldn't think that those people would be like, you know what, we should probably not put those up front unless we're deliberately trying to target the Pokemon fans. You know what I mean? Or the Pokemon, or the longing Pokemon community, or whatever Pokemon part of the community that's out there. Maybe the dejected ones, or the disenfranchised ones, or just, you know, you've chosen that to deliberately target the Pokemon ones. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, let's be real, Pocket Pair is no innocent company here. Like, they've done this crap before. They made their second most famous game was Craftopia. A big like Minecraft knockoff. Like, there's a lot of clear parallels to that, but it was just different enough for it to be its own game. But it literally did a lot of the same thing. They're like, oh, well, you know, who cares? They're punching up because big company bad, I guess, you know. They did it to Hollow Knight too. And Team Cherry is only like a small group of people who only have 2 games underneath them, and both of them are sequels to Hollow Knight. That's it.
Okay.
You know? So these people, like, this company knows what they're doing. They're not stupid. You know? They know exactly what they're doing. They know why they chose the characters they chose to advertise. Let's be real. It's not just, oops, I like, it would be easier to try to convince me that they didn't know what Pokemon was. You know what I mean?
No, okay.
Like, they're like, oh, we just designed these characters entirely original. I didn't even know what Pokemon was until somebody told me. Like, let's be real. You're in Japan. You deliberately did this.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of people who even, like, took models and, like, kind of merged them together. And you can tell, like, I wouldn't say they took the model and then just fluffed it up. Like they could probably have traced it, and then they're like, you know what, we should add these
but
and these
that
elements.
person was schizo.
You know,
That person who did all that was a schizo. So
it wasn't just one person though. Multiple people have. And that's the thing. It's like, and there was a lot of people who have even like taken models, and people called the one who took the models from Scarlet and Violet, and they said, oh, they're just rehashing the old 3DS models. And he took the ones from Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet and compared them together. I'm like, dude, I could tell you these and these. And they're like, oh, he's just a schizo. To disenfranchise him too. So there's a lot of that too, that some people are like so pro Palworld that anybody's like, hey, here's these problems that could be a problem later on. And even with them copying it, let's put it this way. Let's assume they copied one. One of them was like the Lycanroc one, right? It is so extremely similar, you can't tell me that that was entirely original idea. Like, you can't. It is... It was like a Sonic OC. You make a Sonic OC and like, oh, it's entirely original, but there's a reason why you use that style so it could work in like the Sonic world.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
that's what, you know. See what I'm saying? Like they're harping on the Sonic world, but they're like, no, this character is entirely original. No, you're using the Sonic styles, you're using the Sonic attributes, you're using the Sonic body structures to make your own character. That's essentially what they're doing in Palworld. They took like Lycanroc, for instance, right? And they either traced it or remodeled or something to that point. And they modeled that thing differently enough that it's not legally binding to be a plagiarized Lycanroc. But there's enough there that you can say, yeah, that was probably a knockoff Lycanroc.
Okay.
Okay, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, with the 4 years of development, going all the way back to my original point, my point was they've had 4 years of development and they still actively chose these particular characters. They didn't just do that accidentally.
No, okay.
Like, and I think that it's actually going to be its own demise. And I know I'm probably taking the spotlight out of this conversation. Because Palworld, the problem with a lot of Palworld is everyone's making comparisons to Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, a lot of it has, like, it doesn't play the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Like, how does it play differently and stuff? So, a lot of people who are probably just on the outside looking at Palworld and going, it's a Pokemon knockoff.
Okay. Well, it's more like it's a crafting game, but it's also like a crafting survival game, but on top of it, it's also like a Pokemon, like a monster catching type of game, like a monster collecting game.
Right. Like a monster taming game.
Yeah.
That's actually the actual genre now. They just call it monster taming.
Yeah.
So stuff like Digimon, Temtem, Monster Rancher. There's another one called like Monster Harvest or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a variety out there.
So it does all of it like fairly well that you could kind of. It's not as intimidating as Arc, and it's not as intimidating as Pokemon, if that makes any sense. So it's like, it's more streamlined, but the content is there. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not really like any of those. It's hard to explain. You gotta try it to like actually see how it is, I guess. I mean, I guess if you it's more of like a crafting game, I guess, than anything. So if you don't like crafting games, it's probably not for you. Because like the Pokemon side, like the monster taming side of it, isn't entirely too rough as well. Because Pokemon's like super competitive and like how you build and how you catch stuff. You want to maximize it, the catching. But in Palworld, it's more like just trying to collect and build your base, and then level up, and then build your base. And then there's like modifiers, and yeah, it's like easy to mod too. So
yeah,
I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, and like as I was saying, like a lot of the people who hate it and like or truly love it, or I wouldn't say truly love it, but love it for the spiteness of it.
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of like dumb too.
Like both of them. The main focus isn't Palworld.
Mm-hmm.
Like the main focus is Pokemon. Even with Palworld playing and like the approach of its gameplay mechanics and the gameplay loop is even when I looked at videos, I haven't really cared too much about it. I have my own other building ones already. I have Subnautica I'm halfway through and stuff. I'd rather just focus on that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to start another base.
Well, it's just like it's just like saying like, oh, I hope this new shooting game outsells Call of Duty, and that'll really show Call of Duty to make them make a better Call of Duty. It's like
no. So ultimately, Nintendo and Pokemon both know how marketing works, and I'm pretty sure both of their marketing teams are laughing at Palworld, and there's a reason for that. Like I said, there's people who are like, oh yeah, I'm so glad Palworld's coming here. It's gonna put an end to Pokemon's bullcrap, and it'll probably finally make Pokemon get better. You see the argument there is literally saying, I hope Pokemon gets better and get scared so I can go back to Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's not them wanting Palworld to be successful. They want Pokemon to straighten up and do the thing they want them to do. But the thing is, every time they've said that, it hasn't happened because those companies like Temtem, what was the other ones they just did? Monster Harvest, Nexomon, all these games. People at the time, they're like, yeah, finally just put an end to the Pokemon supremacy and maybe shake things up. None of them. None of them did anything to Pokemon.
And you're still going back to Pokemon anyways.
So they're like very spiteful, hoping that Palworld will do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because of their conversation and their spite and stuff, that focus shifts onto Pokemon. That's it. The talk is always about Pokemon. Pokemon fans will go, oh, this is, quote unquote plagiarized or whatever. I firmly believe a lot of their designs, as heavily inspired and quote unquote plagiarized as they are, they're legally binding okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As shady as some of them are, they are they're still legally binding. Mm-hmm. So they're quote unquote original, kind of like how what's it called? Freedom Planet, for like this indie game that was a knockoff to Sonic and stuff like that. The original character designs, they were Sonic designs. You know what I mean? Like when you look at them and you like, we'll pull them up and stuff and make a comparison here, but they're original Sonic designs, but they changed just enough that they were not technically Sonic characters. Like that's kind of the comparison that I see with Palworld.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I hate them. I don't really care about them. I don't really care about the game itself. Like I said, I was like, the numbers just sound way off. I'm like, this sounds like bloating or lying or something we don't know about a market out there, China. Those numbers don't make sense. But like when you're thinking about all the people who hate Palworld, talk about Pokemon. All the people who love Palworld, like the ones that are vocal, at least, the people who are still playing, like the people who genuinely just love Palworld are just playing it. They're not the ones talking about it much.
Yeah.
The people who are playing it and streaming it and stuff, they're spite doing it to try to get the like anti-Pokemon crowd.
Yeah.
And again, that turns into the focus on Pokemon. So, that literally just that's just advertisement to Pokemon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that there, just it's Palworld shooting themselves in the foot in the long run. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and using the advertisement that they chose. They're not stupid. They chose that because they knew the reaction they would get. I'm not sure if they knew the level of reaction, but they knew the type of people would come over to it and be like, oh, it's a Pokemon with guns. Finally, a game with like awesome maturity like me, type of nonsense.
Now, what you really want to do to differentiate yourself is add sex. Do it. Don't be pussies.
Oh my god. Don't.
You can sex your pals.
They will do that. They'll do that. They'll do that, and then suddenly people will just be like, how come we can't do that with our it'll go back to the Pokemon thing. And even though Pokemon's going to be like, I am not touching that topic with a 10-foot pole. Like, they're just not going to ever acknowledge that.
And then they could go to court and they're like, well, yeah, we will definitely not take you guys to court because you are definitely not Pokemon.
Yeah. And the thing is, oh my god, the furry crowd would just be it would be relentless. I'll just hate the game because of that, because I'm gonna get tired of them. Like, oh my god, I just what is it? Shipped myself with all of my pawns. Like every time it'll just be like it'll just be bad, man. It'd just be bad. It'd be horrible.
It makes me almost want to kill the Justice League, right?
We are apparently a little too far on the power. We should need to change subjects. But yeah, no, I do think the major problem with Palworld is when they do go live, they won't have. I think they'll be smart enough to walk away after like their last few major updates they have planned.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll see. I see them like keep this game alive for 10 years and then maybe bring out a second one, because it's like you can't bring out a second one too soon.
I don't know, dude.
You have big shoes to fill too, though, unless they're planning to run this until like 20 years and then.
No, I don't even think they're gonna even do that. I genuinely like Pocket Pair is very small, and the thing is, when you look at the designs, they're already borderlining that like legality area, and you know that Pokemon and Nintendo are watching them. That means they're waiting for that time for them to step over that line. Like, let's be real, that is exactly what's happening right now, right? And when they finally hit the live button, when the 1.0 version of the game finally launches, when they feel like the game is quote unquote complete, they're going to have other updates that they're going to be pressured to do. Well, when you are pressured to do updates, you are more and more likely to take shortcuts, right? Just to, like recolors of monsters and stuff like that. It is a very common thing that happens. Blizzard has done it. Gearworks has done it. Like everyone who has done a live service game has done some kind of rehashing and recoloring of some kind of assets to shorten lifespan. It just happens. It's just the nature of it. With your game being so close to Pokemon designs, like I mean extremely close, to a point where literally almost every topic is comparing it to Pokemon all the time by nature, even though the games couldn't play any further different. All it takes is one slip up and they will get the largest lawsuit to shut that thing down. Now, I do think because Palworld knows, or at least Pocket Pair, who makes Palworld, knows how close they are to it. They have to be. They're a Japanese company. Every single major city has sewer lids with Pokemon on it. Like, they have to know, right?
Yeah.
It's probably gonna, like, they're probably gonna keep it for 1 to 2 years with live live updates, and then keep it as a skeleton crew and you just do whatever, kind of like what Ark kind of did, right? But then they're gonna walk away with all the money they just made, and that's it. I don't think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a 10-year project, there's gonna be constant live updates, blah blah blah. I don't think they're gonna do that.
Oh, okay.
I think
I beg to differ. I think they're gonna purge. Craftopia is still getting updates.
Yeah. Well, how big of updates though? I
don't know, but it's still getting updates.
We need to dig deeper on that too.
They do have
like I said, I'm thinking major updates. I'm thinking like new pals, new this, new that, like periodically.
Okay.
And at the same time, they're probably not as close. Like, even though with Craftopia being as close as they are, Microsoft isn't as well known to shut down Minecraft stuff, even though they do, and they do it very viciously. They don't even give you a cease and desist often. They'll just sue you. Like, that's just Microsoft. They just straight up do it. Nintendo, like, they are fully aware, and on top of that, they weren't really known for Craftopia much. Like, when Craftopia came out, it wasn't like a huge wave. You got people talking about 20 million sales and stuff. You got this whole wave of anti and pro Pokemon warfare going on the internet. You have people literally sending emails demanding responses from all Pokemon developers and Nintendo developers to see, what is your word on this? Obviously, they're bringing a lot more attention and a lot more heat onto Palworld than they will ever get for Craftopia. That being said, they will probably have a lot of updates already planned by now, right? And I'm thinking about 1 year to 2 years of these major updates, and they'll probably just have a skeleton crew after that. And then it just kind of lingers in that ether for a bit until they're ready to kind of like stealth drop a Palworld 2. That's where I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking they're willing to walk away from it, and then once like the heat dies down, they're gonna like Palworld 2, and I'm willing to bet if nothing happens on a legal way, Palworld 2 is going to have a much different design philosophy to get them away from Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think them doing it, thinking, oh, this is going to be cute. Look at they didn't expect the heat that they got.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be like, oh, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be treading really carefully, right? Mm-hmm. And as long as there's no legal situations that Nintendo or Pokemon have to get involved in, but there's a higher risk now that they have to cut corners and stuff, there's a higher risk that they overstep those bounds. We don't know. That just means that there is a situation that will happen.
Add sex. There.
I think when they add sex, I'm pretty sure, like, the fact that all the topics are around Pokemon and stuff too, Nintendo will just fundamentally get involved to probably put a kibosh on it, because they don't want that associated with Pokemon. Think about it. As soon as Palworld adds sex, Nintendo's going to be like, oh, we're going to have to stop this because now they're going to ask us about it now. They're like, hey, Nintendo, what's your opinion about me boinking the pals? You know, like... And then just like, get that microphone out of my face. I don't know where it's been. So, makes you almost want to kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
Going back to that segue, I'm sorry. I had to at least get that word out because I do think that is a very telling thing about Palworld. But Rocksteady's new game, which is kind of like the ending of the old Arkham series. That means Gotham Knights. That means Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, and what was it? Arkham Knight or something like that, the robot one, is like kind of like the end of it all, supposedly, right? And it sold like crap, and it is getting a lot of heat. It's getting more heat than Palworld right now, and for good reason. You want to at least tell your kind of first impressions with it at all?
Well, basically. Yeah, it smells of ESG money, and it really is just ESG money.
It is ESG money. In fact, there is ties to that.
Yeah. So Sweet Baby writes all their cringy dialogue.
So let's back up a little bit. Sweet Baby is in charge of writing. They don't fundamentally do a lot of the writing, but they'll stop in and go, you kind of make sure that this writing is adherent to what ESG and DEA expectations are.
And you would go through us, which basically they're a mafia or like a diversity arm that if you don't go by their standards, they'll just sue the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. And one of the main directors was the one who wrote Suicide Squad, killed the Justice League, and it was just just cringe bad, really, really bad.
And what gets really worse is that there's not a single. They have the original They have some of the original writers still on the team, mm-hmm. like still on the in the company. Mm-hmm. None of them were tasked to write for this game. None of them. Only apparently they tracked. Only one of them was even on the team for writing Gotham Knights. So Gotham Knights was already like a telltale sign that they want to distance themselves but still do the same game. Like it's weird.
And then it'd be worth something if the game was actually good. That's kind of like the only thing, because everybody was like talking about how like, oh, you just hate diversity. You just hate Sweet Baby. And it's like, no, well, we wouldn't.
Yeah,
be talking
I do hate Sweet Baby.
We wouldn't be talking about this if the game was actually good. That's kind of the issue.
Yeah. Like, if the game was really good and the writing was alright, we wouldn't be complaining about it at all.
Yeah. And it's just, like, really weird.
But when you have problems and you have fundamental, counter arguments to your whole writing, like, literally, Harley is supposed to be a redeemed character. They're like, oh, yeah, she's blaming, like, okay. I had to watch the ending of this, and so there's a spoiler for this, so I had to stop it. So the last one is they kill Batman. Not only was there a she pulled out a Magnum and shot him. Mm-hmm. I think it was Magnum. Yeah. For some reason, a shell pops out. I guess it was like the most ridiculous thing. Like, that just tells you the people who are doing this have no idea how guns work.
Yeah.
But before she does that, she does this monologue about blaming Batman for causing all this trauma and like mental strife in all of the city because you just caused all this fear and all that. But literally in the original 3 games, she relished in it. She loved it, and she would go back if she had a chance, but somehow she's fully redeemed. Dude, that just tells you the people who write this crap, like, feel like I'm such a crazy girl. I totally relate to Harley, but I'm going to write her in such a good guy character, so it justifies how I feel about it, because that way it makes me feel like a good guy too. Like, it is such a projection of their character in a self-insert that it destroys Harley's actual characteristics. It is bullshit, like beyond bullshit, of a counterintuitive. And on top of that, the whole comic series this is based off of, how do you have quote unquote the Suicide Squad as a comic series and then have none of the characters die? Every single arc in that series has them die, because, or at least a good portion of them die, because that's why they are called that. They're expendable. They're villains, and that's basically their execution. And that's what happens to them. But all of them stay alive because they're all the good guys now, apparently, because Batman bad. Like, it is so ridiculous, you know? And then they have all these guys who are in Sweet Baby and stuff, like patting themselves on the back, like, oh my god, I was so good. You have to say my name twice. Your name's in it twice to constantly remind us how terrible you are. You're doubly terrible, and you're doubly to blame for the crappy writing that this game had.
Good. Remember these people. Never hire them. They're poison for your company.
Don't ever, dude. Like, this is just like a telling of how AAA gaming is just garbage. There's a reason why I have not even felt like I have any remorse not getting an Xbox X or PlayStation 5. I have not been there like, oh man, I need to get myself one. Dude, there's not been a single game that has gotten me like, I need to buy that system.
Yeah.
Not a single one. Dude, like, literally it's almost 5 years now, right? Like, four?
How far they're out?
No, the PlayStation 5. Like, how long has PlayStation 5 been around?
Dang, I don't know, actually. I think it's been 4 years, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years? Yeah.
So people are already talking about PS6, but we'll get into that one of these days. But, dude, halfway through a newer generation, 4 years in, right? The majority of most console lifespans is about 6 years. Average, right? We are, and I mean, talk about, like, from launch to it being completely dead. Usually that last year, next to no games, but they kind of keep it up and running for those next few games, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Happens to the 3DS, happened to DS, happened to GameCube, it happened to a lot of people, right? And there's no one system that just dies. Like, hell, the PS4 is on its legs on a support system because nobody's buying a PS5.
Yeah.
Like, they were going to close their PS4 division and realize the PS5 is not adapting as fast as they were, and then reopen the PS4 division so there's more PS4 games, right? And that's telling, you know? And me looking at a lot of these games, I'm like, dude, I have a primo PC, and I still don't want to buy those games. Like, they're just not exciting. None of those games, like, I have access to doing any of those, and I don't care. I just don't care. You know? Like, obviously there might be a couple I could see where people are. Like, Final Fantasy VII I could see, because Final Fantasy fans, they longed for this. They're going to buy this game. It makes sense that's one that people are going to be excited about. But I don't care. There's not a single, like, literally I have seen more memes for PlayStation 5 and Xbox X asking where the games are than when the GameCube was out. And the GameCube was always getting trashed for not having enough games. Like, that's telling, dude. That is telling very much. Meanwhile, you know, you could get indies on all the systems, but for some reason the indies are just like just lavished on the Nintendo systems now. Like, even there's a Kickstarter that just came out called Rolling Rascal that's supposed to be kind of like a spiritual successor to Sonic and stuff like that. And they asked, what system would you like us on? Overwhelming. I mean, like, it is like eclipsed and lapped twice compared to the other three combined for Nintendo Switch. Granted, by the time it comes around, it'll probably be the new system and stuff too. But, like, who wants to buy this crap? Not only are we like getting these games that are supposed to be AAAs that we're supposed to be hyped for, it's also insulting the entire game and the reason why we wanted it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kill the Justice League was supposed to be kind of like the capstone to the Arkham series, and it's not there.
I remember them saying too, it wasn't. They said it wasn't like, oh, it's not canon to the Arkham series, and then they show Harley's dress from the Arkham series. Like, what the fuck is that then?
Yeah.
So fuck these people.
Well, yeah. So it's not even DLC. It was like base game content. You know? And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like,
but it's not canon for some reason.
I mean, let's be honest. A lot of comics go through different arcs too, so they could try to excuse it to try to get themselves distanced away from it. But I honestly think, because of the massive budget, which shouldn't have happened, and the fact that they relied on Sweet Baby and these ESG bonus points, which should never happen, period. I think this game's gonna kill Rocksteady.
Good.
You know, and it sucks. And it generally sucks because it's like, that's a lot of talent. And a lot of people are like, good, all these people should lose, like you. Like, there's a lot of people who are sorry, like, everyone should lose their jobs and never work in the company again. No, but like, a lot of those people are probably, like, flat out ignored. That's like saying, like, if you're the one good person in a store and that whole store should be closed and you shouldn't ever be working in that type of business again, even though that was your dream business, just because you're in the wrong building. It sucks, you know, but it is going to be like, it's telling in two different ways. One, we should never trust the ESG woke diversity nonsense. We should never do that. And two, we should have stopped doing this power pissing contest, big budget title releases forever now. Like, I've been warning about for years, and we've talked about it multiple times. Like, these big budgets are constantly make or breaks. How are we supposed to get 12 million in sales just to break even for a game? That tells me you're doing the game wrong, you know?
Just make it like Pokemon and add guns. Duh. Guess they should have had Pokemon. They should have had Pokemon in there.
You were waiting for that. You were waiting for me to just... And like, he's literally just floating over there. And he's just like, I'm just waiting to use this punchline. I'm just going to let him just rant. I see how you are. And I see through you. One of the two. Take it, whatever. But no, like...
It's just the constant gaslighting, too, that really pisses me off. That, like... this game doesn't look good, and like,
and you're right.
Well, you must hate us. Like,
and you're right. And what's funny is all the gaslighting comes from people who are hired from the external sources.
They do like, it. It's industry standard.
That is like the most dumbest crap. It's like, let's hire you to do the process and make sure our writing's good, and then you're also gonna stay out there and then crap on everyone who has criticisms. Like, that's a double whammy of just like why your game has to fucking suck.
And that's why you get so much disdain from just people who say, "Oh, good, it's a good thing you lost your job," because it's like your company shits on your fans too. So it's like there's animosity between everybody.
And like that's another thing is like, literally these companies should be like tightening up on a lot of this crap. That like, dude, if you if you're representing us, you should shut the fuck up,
or at least don't use the company's
not even that
profile. Yeah.
Not even that. Like, even if you're one of the lead writers and stuff, and you have that in your title and stuff, like, oh yeah, I write for this game. Also, you're a bunch of nerds that should go and like jump off a cliff. Yeah, you're still representing the company, dumbass. Like, that is like, when did this become okay? You know what I mean? Like, how did social media go, oh yeah, you can just be, and it's like, just write, oh, my opinions are my own. That's just you trying to protect yourself. How you hate the fans that you make games for.
Yeah.
You know, don't try to play this game, right? And like I said, it sucks because Rocksteady's a very solid, talented company, but they hired some of the worst, bogus ass, booger picking fucking writers that honestly should have no business in any industry that has any entertainment whatsoever. They should be writing fanfics to each other on some WordPress document in some cloud form on some bogus ass site way down in the depths of the internet.
Which I wonder how they got the job too. So,
well,
nepotism.
Kind of. I think it's their, because of how bad how fast the industry is growing. I think a lot of these major developers, and this is my realistic look at it, a lot of these people who sometimes orbit around games and stuff, or maybe they had a bad experience because their boyfriend would always play the games more than she, or maybe they played one game and they're like constantly seeing all the hatefulness in these games. Like, I'm gonna change things. This is me gonna be proactive and change them from within. Like she's some kind of super spy, you know? And they will take a writing course or gender studies course or whatever master's degree to get them in there, and they'll take the lowest paying part of the job just to get in there. And because they're being paid lower and they're willing to take lower raises to get in higher positions, they're like, okay, yeah, you can do that. That'll save us money than hiring Joe Schmo over there who's had 20 years experience and would have made us more money. But if we can save money in the process, we won't have to worry about higher sales. And besides, the brand's gonna be good, whatever. And they slowly climb up, and now they're these like huge hit journalists and hit this pieces and hit writers. When they write like crap, they literally write like the gossipers in high school, you know?
Yeah.
Like the whole Johnny knows this, but he's secretly in love with that, blah 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 type of bullshit. Like the CW evening cartoon show dramas that you always got to see, Dawson's Creek or whatever the crap they wanted to talk
And now
about.
they write for your games.
Yeah, basically, dude. And I think it's because these businesses look at numbers and go, oh, we could pay her like $120,000 less? Hell yeah, let's just do that. You know, that'll save us $600,000 in the whole development process in this game.
We got the brand. That's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's becoming more and more apparent. And these people who are that way, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be absolutely horrible to you because I already hated you to begin with. And a lot of these higher ups don't even use social media or anything. Like, a lot of these hired ups probably don't even have their kids use social media. You know, they're like, hey, 6 o'clock, phone's down, you're out, and then you go to bed. Like, you know, these people have like these strict regimens, whereas like these low level punk, like middle wage type of people, they don't really control their kids very often, and then they're constantly escaping on their little iPod parenting and just give them whatever, and they just pop on. And they're just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people retweeting this stuff. It's gonna be great, and that's it, because they don't understand it. And from there, you get those people in charge of hiring other people like them, and then they all get to be these little high school cliques in their mid-30s inside professional buildings, doing God knows what else they want to do to video games. And that's why, as you even said, Japan's like, I'm not fucking touching these guys.
Yeah.
And for good reason. Even though there's a lot of talented Western developers out there that should have some kind of work with one another, and we should work together. But we have so many little toxic cysts in our system that we need to pop.
It's poison in the industry. Don't let these people. Don't trust these people.
This is almost an hour long, by the way.
Jesus Christ. It's been a while since we see you guys. Okay.
This has been one hell of a one. Like, I'm just over here ranting. You're just like, I'm gonna just drop some shady one-liners, and then I'm just gonna go off on another tangent. I should stop sometimes. But yeah, no, this is just another state of the gaming, man. Like, holy crap.
So it's more of just along the lines of like what AAA looks like right now.
And honestly, it just galvanizes my belief that indie is where to go, dude. Indie will rise from the ashes and maintain the fucking business.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely. And that way, indies can also even hire whoever the hell they want. If a woke company wants to make a woke game, they're allowed to. But at least their budget's not going to completely kill the whole industry.
Yeah.
So, anyway, welcome back to Your Turn, guys. I hope you enjoyed the ride. As always, if you like our content and want it to be shorter, we promise we're going to do that.
Hopefully nothing happens. Hopefully nothing interesting happens next week, right?
So hopefully the Palworld doesn't make 300 billions in 2 months, and then suddenly it's like the Palworld, we just bought everyone else. But yeah, if you guys like our content, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, we will see you on the other side. Hey everyone, this is Parak.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.